Alright, Random Storytelling, episode 2. I'm in Hettonley Hole, which is a former pit village on the edge of Sunderland. I think it used to be part of Durham, but it's Sunderland now, isn't it? Hetton, I think it is. Anyway, yeah, one of my first jobs was in Hetton. Oh, fucking hell, going back to the late 80s. I wasn't there long. I was basically a Kirby vacuum cleaner salesman. I did it for a few weeks. I had to go and what do you call it? What's the word? Oh man, demonstrate. I had to demonstrate the Kirby vacuum cleaner in people's homes. Oh man, it was really fucking expensive, and it was a proper scam. I hated it, but I was quite good at it. But I hated it, and I quit. I wasn't there long. Anyway, that was in Hetton. It's not there now, but their office was in Hetton. That's where we were based. Also in Hetton, Florence Anderson. Sadly, she's no longer with us, but Florence Anderson was the deputy leader of Sunderland Council, and she used to invite us to her home for cups of tea and biscuits, you know, because she was a lefty. And when me and other lefties started getting it organised around 2007, 2008, she was very interested, because there'd been the lefty stuff in Sunderland for years, and we were bringing it back. She got involved with us, you know, and well, that didn't go down too well with the right-wingers on the Labour Council, believe us, and she lost quite a few positions, I think, committee positions and stuff, because of her left-wing involvement. And sadly, she died a few years ago. Lovely woman, legend during the miners' strike, by the way, for our activities around Eppleton and what have you. Anyway, we're coming out of Hetton now, coming into Horton, and we're passing a big roundabout in Horton, just passing the town centre as we come round towards Horton Cut on the A690. Just a little way past Hetton, a place called East Rainton. I used to work with a bloke called Sammy. Me and him ran a fruit and veg van in the late 80s, early 90s, and we ran it from his house in East Rainton, and that was interesting. Fucking hell. Sammy was an alcoholic, and he lost his driving licence and everything, and it was a nightmare working with him, to be honest. He wasn't very bright bloke, and as I say, he was an alcoholic. So we ended up at loggerheads, and we went our separate ways in the end, and I bought the business off him, you know, through solicitor and all that. And I heard about 10-15 years ago, I heard he died, and he wasn't married and he had no kids, so I didn't know what happened. I wasn't at his funeral. I didn't even know at the time when he died, but apparently he died. Yeah, it was acrimonious when we finished the business, and I went off and did it on my own for a few years in the early 90s. Anyway, coming down A690 now, heading back to Sunderland. Heading back to the city centre. There's a place coming up on the right, on a farm where I worked. Before I had the business with Sammy, I worked for a guy, an Asian guy, who had that's where I started on the vans, by the way, fruit and veg and pop and all that. I started on working for this guy called Gary. He was an Asian guy, but he was called Gary. Believe it or not, he was called Gary Smith, and he was Asian, but he was adopted when he was a kid by a white couple, and they gave him the name Gary Smith. I've never met any other Asian person in my life called Gary Smith, or even something similar. Anyway, coming up to the farm on the right, just before the A19 roundabout, at Harrington. There's a place on a little bit of farmland, and there used to be like barns and sheds and all that there, and Gary Smith used to have his storage facility there, so we used to go there and sort all the gear out for the vans. That was back in 1988 when I was only 18-year-old when I worked for him. Yeah, fucking hell, some memories there, I tell you. He was crackers, Gary, like, he was a fucking loony. Fuck, he used to have me shitting bricks because he'd drive at 100 mile an hour down country roads and that, man. Absolute loon behind the wheel. Anyway, this big roundabout, I think Blot camped on that. This big roundabout on the A19 at Harrington, at the end of the A690, where it meets the A19. I think he camped on that in one video that he did. So we're coming into Harrington on the A690. This is the same route back to the city centre that I took in episode 1. So I'm on the same main drag, you know, back into the Sunderland city centre. But there's loads of stuff I missed out on the way, so because episode 1, that was a bit of a random thought popped in my head. Oh, why didn't, just to pass the time when I'm driving, fucking talk some shite into the camera about me experiences and memories over the years in Sunderland. Not much. I've never had much experience in Harrington. It's full of posh people, you know what I mean? Not really done much round here. My mate's sister lives round the corner in Harrington, and my mate often rings us from there to pick him up. My mate Steve. Coming up to the Board Inn. I don't think I've ever been in the Board Inn in my life. It's one of the few pubs I've never been in. Can't remember ever being in there anywhere. But it's in Harrington, and like I say, I've not really done much in Harrington. I don't really know many people in Harrington. Farringdon, different matter. Farringdon, my cousin used to live there, my cousin Sean. My dealer used to live there when I was a weed smoker and cannabis smoker back in the day. We used to get our gear from this lad. Sadly, he hung himself. I can't remember his name, but I wouldn't mention his name anyway. Thorny Close, coming up to Thorny Close again on the left. Loads of memories in there because I started driving for K&I taxis in 1995, and they were based in Thorny Close, so I know Thorny Close like the back of my hand. Loads of experiences there. Guy who used to live in Thorny Close, top of Tilbury Road, murdered our lass's mate back in 1987, I think it was. A lass from South Hilton called Gaynor Batty. He lived in Tilbury Road, the fucking scumbag. He murdered her, he raped her, and he strangled her with his fucking shoelaces in the car park, in the multi-storey car park in the city centre. He's out now, I think. I think he's free, walking about. I fuck knows where, but aye, poor Gaynor. She's buried in Bishop Weymouth Cemetery. 14-year-old she was when she was murdered. Fucking scumbag. Anyway, I flew past Thorny Close a bit quick there. Loads of memories in Thorny Close. There's Plains Farm again on the right. Lower end of Thorny Close there. And then Springwell. Grindon Lane. Oh, I once played Grindon Club with me blue comedy songs. My mate's band was like a glam rock covers band, and they were playing Grindon Club, and they asked me to come along kind of as a support act. So I did a few songs, and well, let's just say half the room loved us and half the room fucking hated us. It was a weird one, that was a weird one. Grindon Club. I reckon Grindon Club was a hard place to play for any act, like. But yeah. So going up to the lights again, where the Prospect used to be, where Lidl is now. Durham Road, the A690 back to the city centre. God, I've travelled this road a lot over the years. Fucking hell. I've done driving jobs most of my life, with a little bit of factory work and bits and bobs in between. So I know these roads, you know what I mean? I could drive up here with my eyes shut, easy. I could probably slow down before the speed camera at the right time with my eyes shut. There you go. I've done it that many times. I think it's only ever caught us out once, this camera, and that was when it was brand new. Be funny if it caught us out now, wouldn't it? Distracted by me fucking shite. Yeah, there's the college again. So yeah, we're coming back towards the barns where I had my wedding reception, like I say. This is another posh area, you know, so I've not really had a lot of experiences around here. I've not really knocked about with posh people in my life. I've knocked about with people from council estates, mostly. So when it comes to posh people, I didn't really have a lot of connections. I say posh for Sunderland, you know what I mean? I regard people who live in Harrington and the Barnes area as posh, because they are, compared to me and, you know, my ilk, where we come from on the council estates of Sunderland. They are posh. So it's, I know there's not a lot between us, but even small differences can seem massive. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, coming back into Bedsit land, yeah, where a lot of students live. When I was a political activist back in the early 2000s onwards, I used to hang around with a lot of students in Sunderland, younger people who were students, because they would naturally gravitate towards left-wing politics, because they'd be doing social sciences at university and what have you. So they would get an education in left-wing politics, whereas daft people like me from council estates, workers, it's harder to connect with the left in that sense, you know. So I had mates lived in Bedsit land. They've all moved on now. Some of them are teachers, some of them are whatever, you know, different jobs. But yeah, a lot of them gone on to be teachers. Bedsit land in Sunderland's quite big, you know. There's a lot of streets which is heavily populated by students, and we're passing it all now on the left and the right as we come back into the city centre. In the city centre, there's a place, lots of experience there, mind. Lots of experience. I'm 54-year-old. This has been my stomping ground all my life, you know, since I could first legally drink, and even when I couldn't legally drink. Anyway, we're back in the city centre now, and heading towards the Cooper Rose, which is a pub that used to be Durham Book Centre. Can you remember Durham Book Centre, anybody? Fucking hell. It was like a record and joke shop and costumes and books and all sorts.